Well, I do want to move on a little bit and talk about, I want to talk about developing leaders. So when you think about leadership development, how does a organization consciously create a culture of, and really a habit of developing leaders?
It's a big question.
It starts with the leader. I mean, I don't think that part of your culture can be delegated to a point person. I think it really has to be something that's passionate within the ultimate leader of the organization. And then that person may be passionate about it, and maybe they aren't the ones to put a system or an intelligent or an intentional sequence in place, but they have to believe it to the core and then be able to anoint someone to carry out and to execute that. But I think if it's believed at the top, then it will always have the priority that it needs. But it's very difficult to delegate, okay, you're all about the leadership development. You take that. Because if it's not part of the leader's DNA, everybody senses it. And it always shifts to a lower level than it should within the organization.
Ultimately, you can't delegate vision and passion.
No.
For something. So to a certain extent, we all know there's a felt need in most churches for leadership development. But ultimately, when you're talking about succession or a pipeline of leadership, it's only going to go up as far as that vision and passion. So it's great if your small groups guy has vision and passion for leadership, but that's not going to permeate throughout the whole organization. It's got to be the guy at the top.
And you know why? Because you see it. It's like anything. If we're passionate about it, we become animated, we're excited about it, we don't grow weary of the conversation, we're interested, we're engaged, and everybody picks up on that vibe. And they know that that's what matters and that's what's really important. And it's needed to do it because it's not an easy task to put something in place and really monitor it and hold people accountable and really work it through and get everybody on board with that way of thinking. So it would be great if that would be something that we delegated. I just don't know that it can and really be as effective as it needs to be. And sadly, that leadership passion, I mean, those are like keys to the kingdom. I mean, they're essential for our churches and for their growth.
Yeah. And today, I think more than ever, having a leadership culture as an organization is part of the way that you acquire new talent and that you attract new talent. If I have the choice between working in this environment or this environment, and I look at both of those and most things line up, but there's one that seems to be more about both developing me as a leader as well as giving me opportunities to grow and cultivate my wiring and my calling, I'm probably going to choose that one almost every time. And
even if the money's different.
Yeah.
Because if I feel like I'm growing and I'm contributing and I'm growing in the areas where God has naturally wired me and where I really feel like I can make a huge contribution, my commitment and willingness to stick with it and even do way above and beyond is so much greater. It's so much greater. I think, if that's an operation, people can come and offer a lot of other opportunities, but when you have that, it's just, it's priceless.
Yeah. And it does, sorry, but it also is, for a church specifically, if you're developing leaders, if you're developing your volunteers as leaders, if you're developing your staff, if your congregation and your community has the sense that if I'm going to be part of this house, if I'm going to be part of this expression of the local church, I'm going to grow as a leader, then naturally you are going to want to tell your friends about that. So you're going to grow your church. This is a natural byproduct of leadership development as a church. Says that we develop leaders who also will develop leaders, who will develop leaders, who will develop leaders. So that kind of culture
multiplies.
And
absolutely.
Every pastor I know, if you say, would you like to grow your church? The answer is yes. I don't know of any,
Yeah.
I don't know of any pastors.
Thinking about a 10% decrease.
I think we're good right now.
Yeah.
No, we're
Let's not
good.
go there.
We're good.
Yep.
No, everybody wants to grow. So leadership development is part of that.
Well, I would say this, and I'm sure I stole it from Andy Stanley, Rich Hurst, John Maxwell, somebody. But I remember there are 3 levels of shared ministry. There's dumping, there's delegating, and developing. And if you've ever served in a church as a volunteer, you quickly know the difference. And frankly, if you dump on a leader, you treat them like, if I don't care about the person or the position or what I'm asking them to do, if it's just a dump, it's a warm body, it's a space that I need filled, their calendar is going to be full the next time you ask. Delegating, looking at the person and looking at the task, that's the next level, and that's good. But man, when you turn on that development piece and someone sees that you not only cared about who they were, you not only cared about the position that fit with them, then you invested in them and took them into ministry, and they're a better person, whether it's just a better volunteer, but if they're becoming a better father, if they're becoming a better employee, all those things, I think all those pieces come into it. And it's really a force multiplier.
Yeah. And you actually see the huge benefits in that when crisis hits. So if you've been in the mode of developing, it's amazing how you can weather an unexpected crisis within the church or within the organization or whatever it is when people are used to standing up and taking charge and they're comfortable in, now I need to lead in an area where I'm greatly needed.
Well, it's funny that you bring that up simply because there are so many times where there are people that are in leadership positions that really enjoy being needed.
Yeah.
And, I can't go on vacation. I can't do these things. And in part, it's probably likely that they're threatened by the thought of someone taking their place or succession. So how do we have organizations that are able to develop top level, high level successors for leadership without, threatening either the leader or threatening the potential below? That's an easy one. I'm going to give it to you.
Yeah,
Brad.
this is like that. If we can answer that one, then we should all be making $1 million as consultants. Succession is the hardest. I think it's one of the hardest things to do as a leader, because at the moment you feel like you've just figured it out is the moment that you should be handing it off, and that doesn't seem natural. It doesn't seem like a good stewardship, but every level of every organization, with every leader at every level of every organization, the part of your job description is to get out of the way. Part of your job description is to say, here's the baton, I'm gonna go do something else that only I can do, so I gotta hand this off to you. And most of the time, humans, by our very nature, we would rather stay because now we're comfortable and it's fairly easy and it becomes second nature.
It's a routine.
Yeah, and so it goes against our grain and just the way we're wired, but it is part of our job description. Every leader at every level has to be willing to hand it off. They have to be willing to say, I've got to keep moving up or out or outside or beside so that somebody else can step in. This is really hard. I mean, it's especially hard in the church.